Hello, Mike here, and no, I'm not dead. I'm alive. I am here. I'm not missing. I'm not. My face isn't plastered on milk cartons. I am actually, indeed, alive in the flesh, and here to bring you another album discography ranking. So, a bit of context here. Where have I been? In fact, where has Album Fight Club been? Because Cody and I have not done an episode since about a month ago at this point, and it was a month prior to that we hadn't done another episode. I apologize. It's been a very busy couple months. My wife and I just opened a production of a show called Lungs. It's a two-person show. It took a lot of effort and a lot of time. So, I wasn't really around to do much in that regard. So that show is coming to an end. Hopefully that means my evenings can open up and therefore Cody and I can do more episodes. But for now, I had a brief snippet of time where I could record this. So I wanted to get something out there, and I've been wanting to do this for a bit. So I figured now would be a good time. So what is this? This is a discography ranking of my favorite band of all time, One Rush. So if you recall an episode we did way back when in season 1 with moving pictures and permanent waves, we talked about Rush at length on that episode. And one of the things I said was that Rush is my favorite band of all time, and that still remains true. And that's a big statement to make, right? A bold statement to say that this band is above all other bands in your view, but they just are. None of their albums are my favorite albums of all time. I mean, if I expanded it to like my top 100, one of them would probably be in there, but like top 5, top 10 albums, I don't think any of these albums are falling in that camp. But as a band, as a composition of musicians, I don't think it gets any better than Rush. And that's largely because they did everything with 3 members, which is crazy to think about when you listen to their music. It sounds like they have 10 people doing all this stuff. And then you realize, oh my God, it's only 3 of them. And those 3 guys that were the core of Rush. I know the first album was a little bit different, but once Neil comes into the picture and that's the band for years, it's just like the greatest composition of musicians ever, right? It's like Mach 2 Deep Purple, but like better somehow, because you have Alex Lifeson on guitar, who I guess you would say is like the weakest member, but even saying that sounds wrong. It sounds like incorrect, because Alex is an amazing guitar player, like fantastic, really, really good. The problem is he's up against, in my opinion, the greatest bass player of all time in Geddy Lee, and my favorite drummer of all time in Neil Peart, who, like, those two guys, I mean, Jesus, what can you say about Geddy Lee's bass playing and Neil Peart's drumming that hasn't been said before, and hasn't been widely agreed upon as like some of the best in music ever? So you put these 3 guys together and you make complete magic on every single record. And yes, I said every single one. All 19 of their studio albums are albums that I like. Now, obviously, this first part is going to be the lower half of the list. I have to split it between 2 parts because there's 19 fucking records I'm about to talk about, right? Actually, 20. I'll talk about the 20th. This bottom half is the bottom half, and therefore they're the records that I have less to say about, because I like the records in the upper half more. I have more to say about them. These records, though, every single one of them I still like, except number 20, which I'll get to. But as far as their studio albums concerned, I love every single one of them. I cannot say that about any other band I've talked about in terms of our discography rankings. Like Contortionist maybe is the closest, but they only have like 4 albums. So like, when you have 19 albums and all 19 of them are at worst good, that's saying a lot. But there are 19 of them, so I think it's worthwhile to just start jumping right in. Now, I did say that there's 20. The one that I do have in possession, by the way, I have all of them on vinyl, so I'm going to be showcasing the vinyl. And yes, it took me a very long time to get all 20 of these records on vinyl, but I finally pulled it off. The 20th one that I'm actually not going to include, even though I would, if we are going to include, I guess it is 20, would be Feedback, the covers record EP they did. There's really not much for me to say here. It's a covers EP. It's fine. It's very much supplemental material. It's got a nice little gatefold with the dudes. I don't know, man. Like, they're fine covers, but I would literally pick up anything else in their catalog. Even the live albums I would go to before this. It's just a cute little thing they did, and that's fine. That's all it needs to be. It's an EP. I have it on vinyl just kind of because. So I really don't have much to say. So if we're counting the EPs, which there's only this one, easily number 20, easily the worst. I rarely ever listen to it. In fact, the other 19 records I'm about to talk about, or at least the next 10-ish that I'm about to talk about, I would much rather any day of the week go to than Feedback. Feedback is like, I've got nothing else to listen to. So let's actually start the list. What is the weakest Rush record in my opinion? And this was so difficult, this bottom section. The top half of this list was super easy, for me at least. They're all amazing records, but I was very clear in terms of like what was 1, 2, 3, etc. The bottom half, however, was really hard. In fact, like seconds before I started recording this, I literally made a switch last minute. And I'll explain what that switch is in a second. But like trying to choose a weakest Rush record is almost impossible. But something has to be last. And so for my part, right now, September 2025, this could totally change like a week from now. But at this current moment, my least favorite Rush record is Test for Echo. And it's kind of on the basis of just like, I look at the track list and it's not that any of these songs are bad, but a lot of them are really forgettable for me. I will say, Rush has a tendency with a lot of these like bottom half songs or bottom half records. The first 2 songs on each record are the 2 best songs. And I think that's the case here as well. Test for Echo, the title track, it's a good little title track. It does exactly what, you want Rush to do at this era of their career. But Driven is by far and away, I think, the best song on this album. It just like does the most. It's got such a great propulsion to it and an energy. Is this a gatefold? I don't even remember. I'll take all of them out of the sleeve because why not? No, it is not. So there's that. Yeah, Test for it's good though. Like that's the thing. It's not that this is at the bottom because it sucks ass. It's like it's at the bottom because like 1, something has to be at the bottom, and 2, like it just does the least for me. I'm looking at other like Time and Motion's okay, Dog Years, Virtuality, Resist, like they're just okay songs, right? There's so many other better songs in the Rush catalog. And as far as their 90s-ish era, I'm of the opinion that Rush has 5 eras to their career, right? There's the beginning era, there is the golden era, which the golden era, of course. And by the way, each era concludes with a live album. So I'll briefly mention this because it's going to come up a lot. The first era is everything from the self-titled album to 2112 and All the World's a Stage, right? That's the live album that ends era 1. Era 2 is the golden era, where you get Farewell to Kings up to Moving Pictures, and then you get Exit Stage Left. Era 3 is the synth era, where you get everything from Signals all the way to Hold Your Fire, and then you get Show of Hands, which is the live record of that era. Era 4 is this, which is Presto to Test for Echo, and then different stages, and then the tragedy of Neil's life occurs where they take a big, long hiatus. And of course, Era 5 is everything from Vapor Trails to Clockwork Angels, their last record, and the subsequent live records they released. So Era 4, which again is Presto, Counterparts, Roll the Bones, and Test for Echo, is by far and away my least favorite of the eras. I think it just does the least for me. It's the most forgettable. It's still got good stuff, but this is the weakest album in that era. And so because it's my least favorite era, it kind of makes sense to put it at the bottom of the entire list. I think it's an okay record. I think it's got a lot going for it. But as far as being a fantastic record, I don't really feel that way about this one. I feel it about other ones coming up, which is the case for number 18. It's another example of like, it's got great moments, but overall, I think it's just kind of lacking in some areas. And that will be their second to last album, Snakes and Arrows. What I mean by this album has a lot good going for it, or rather some good going for it, is once again, the first 2 tracks on this record are fantastic. Far Cry, an amazing opener, and probably one of the most underrated tracks of the last era of Rush's career, Armor and Sword. Man, that song is so good, so heavy. It's got such a propulsion and a weight to it. It's got so much heft, right? It's Rush almost getting to like that heavy metal band sort of sound that they did sometimes before. Love Side A, which also includes Working the Angels, which I think is a good song. But from there, you kind of get songs that are just, again, kind of just okay to me. The Main Monkey Business as an instrumental, I don't think is fantastic. I think there's a better one on here, which is Malignant Narcissism. And even then, Malignant Narcissism isn't an amazing instrumental track. Like it's just fine. They've done much better in their earlier career when it comes to instrumentals. The Way the Wind Blows, I like that song. Spindrift is fine, but like it's just another record where like I don't think we needed these many songs. If you think about their early career, right? They did so many albums with like 8 songs, 6 songs, in some cases like 4 in the case of Hemispheres. Like, do we really need like 12 songs on this thing? I don't think so. I don't think we need that much. So I don't know if it's 12. I'm just making a guess, but it's a good record. It's just not, if I'm going to come to Rush for anything, it's not really going to be Snakes and Arrows. Of course, that's what the live record sort of cover was. But it is a record that, I'll put on and I'll enjoy those first couple songs, but very quickly I'm like, I'd rather be listening to another one in Rush's career. Now, because there are 19 albums, this list is probably going to be different than a lot of the lists you see, just because there's 19 selections, and that just gives way to a lot of different variations. The top half of the list, you can probably guess what's up there, and you'd be right. But there are some in the bottom tiers that might shock you, might appall you, might offend you if you are a big hardcore Rush fan, and this is one of those first moments. At number 17, I have a record that I think for a lot of people is much, much higher. But for me, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't quite do it as these other records, and that is Counterparts. Having a difficult time coming up on screen because it's got the glare. I feel like I've just really upset some people right now by putting this here, but like, it's what I will say, once again, Animate and Stick It Out. The first 2 songs on the record, I would say, are probably the best songs on the record, but there is one other that gives it a run for its money. The instrumental, Leave That Thing Alone. It's a good instrumental. It's not their greatest. They've done much better, but it is a cool little instrumental. One that I go back to often. But it's just the rest of these songs. Like, it's not that it's bad. I hate saying that I hate seeing it so far down the list. I don't want it to be down here, but I just prefer everything above it more. And so that's why it's here. Because you get songs like Cut to the Chase, Alien Shore, Speed of Love, Cold Fire. It's like, they're okay songs, but like I'm not remembering these like I'm remembering Animate and Stick It Out and Leave That Thing Alone and Armor and Sword and Far Cry and all the songs we've talked about already. So it kind of falls into the camp of just kind of being just okay. It's a good record, but in my view, it's okay compared to what they're gonna do higher on this list. So I'm sorry. For me, Counterparts just kind of falls towards the bottom. And it's part of that 4th era of Rush, right? That like get rid of the synths, return to the main core sound of Rush. And I can see why they did what they did. The Rush synth era is a very divisive era of their career. I just think the move to the 4th era was kind of forgettable in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, that train continues because the next album on my list is one of the 4th era, which the 2 I have not talked about are Presto and Roll the Bones. Now, in hearing those 2, you would put money down on like probably Presto is the one. It's not. It's Roll the Bones. Again, I apologize for the glare on these things. But what I will say is that I do think Roll the Bones is a leap above Counterparts. And in fact, the last minute change I had was switching Counterparts and Roll the Bones position. Because I briefly, the last thing I did before I listened to this was like, okay, let me try Roll the Bones one more time. I see a lot of people love this record. Maybe I'm missing something. And while it didn't, skyrocket up my list, in hearing it again one last time, I do think it is a very good version of, that 90s era Rush sound that you get, because the trend continues. Dreamline, Bravado, 2 fantastic tracks right off the cuff. Roll the Bones, it's an okay song. I've never loved this song, and it's not because the rap is super corny. The rap is super corny, though. It's just never really offended me in any way or like wowed me in any way, so it kind of just like does that middle of the road thing that really doesn't blow me away. Where's My Thing, though? That instrumental is pretty damn cool for the like crazy chorus. It's not a chorus because there's no singing, but like the chorus, the thing that gets repeated a lot. The drum sound that Neil is doing in that thing is so crisp and so smooth. It sounds so good. Now, when it comes to side 2, which is the Big Wheel Heresy, Ghost of a Chance, Neurotica, and You Bet Your Life, like, again, just whatever. But Ghost of a Chance is such a good song. I love that song. One of my favorite songs of the 4th era of Rush. So, once again, it's fine. It's okay. But it doesn't really wow me in magnificent ways. And so for that, I kind of just have to leave it at bottom tier. But an improvement for counterparts, I think a little for me. All right. Only one record left in the fourth era of Rush. Where is it going to fall? Not next. The next one I'm going to talk about is actually one from their fifth era, their final era, and that would be Vapor Trails, the return of Rush after Neil Peart's tragic loss of his wife and his daughter in quick succession, where he basically took a self-imposed exile on his motorcycle throughout North America. Very, honestly, like if you've seen any documentaries or read any of the books, like Geddy Lee's biography, which is really good, they were Geddy and Alex were unaware if the band was even going to come back together. They just kind of assumed that, like, I guess that's it. But then Neil comes back around. They make this record, and it's a great return to form. It does break the trend of the first two songs are like the best songs. One Little Victory, I think, is really, really good and a great opener and one of my favorite songs on here. But Ceiling Unlimited, kind of forgettable. However, I wish, or rather, that what they should have done is flipped the third track and the second track. Ghost Rider, which is the third track. I love that track, especially in knowing the story behind Neil's previous couple years before this album was made. Just like such a cathartic song in many ways. Peaceable Kingdom, The Stars Look Down, like just good songs. I think there's a leap in quality here for me at least. But then you get to side two, or rather vinyl side three in the case for the vinyl, and you get Secret Touch, which is such a good song, such an underrated song in my opinion. Earthshine is amazing. And the Nocturne, Freeze, Out of the Cradle, it's more fine stuff. It's more good songs. But I think there's more greatness here than all the previous records I've talked about. It's still not quite up to snuff to like their later work, but like I said earlier, and as I've said multiple times, there's no real bad Rush album here, so this album is good at its core. In fact, it's got great moments, more great moments than everything I've talked about. So that's why it falls at, I forget where I'm at this point. So just try and keep up. Once we get to a certain area, I'll know where I am. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. So, for the longest time, this next record was actually like my least favorite Rush record for a very, very long time. And then in repeating this exercise or listening to all these records again, it very much shot up in its sort of thing. It is the first record of Era 3, the synthwave, and that would be Hold Your Fire. Like I said, at one time, I just did not I really didn't care for this record. And in many ways, there's parts of this record that I still don't love, but there are moments on here that really, really work. Once again, we follow the trend of the first two tracks being like my favorites on the record. Force 10, fantastic opener. That whole like bass, the boo, 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 like it's fantastic. It's good. It's everything you want Geddy to do. But for God's sakes, Time Stands Still, dude. Like, oh man, what a good song. One of my favorite Rush songs, honestly. And the only time they ever featured like a guest artist on any of their songs. But the thing that like I really love is that it's such a good Rush radio song. And they've done so many before, right? Tom Sawyer, Spirit of Radio, Limelight, but like Time Stands Still is such a good selection or choice for the third era of Rush to hit radio. Just if you never heard the song, just listen to the song. And when they get to the chorus, it's very obvious when the chorus happens. Just listen to Geddy's bass riffage that he's doing. It's so smooth. It's so beautiful. It's so fantastic. Love, love, love that song. Again, more stuff here. Lock and Key. Love it. Turn the Page. Great song. But the reason that this record for a long time was kind of low is because the low moments are kind of low. Like Tai Shan, which I know they've talked about forever as a song that like they don't really look back favorably on. It's not great. It's very like weird and dated and whatever. Prime Mover, all this other stuff. There's songs on here that just don't quite, do it. But the ones that do it really do it. For me, though, it's definitely the weakest moment in their synthwave era of music. And as you'll see, I'm actually a big fan of the synth era. I think two of the records in the synth era are like unbelievably amazing. This one is okay. It's good. Another one I think is great. And then, like I said, there's two that are like really high up. But for now, for this placement, Hold Your Fire comes in mid-tier of the lower half. I think I'm on like 14, I think. I can actually check this very quickly if you'll bear with me. I should probably cut this out in post. Yes. Okay. So Hold Your Fire was 14. I'm now moving to 13, which is the first Rush record in the self-titled Rush. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm not holding up the actual case for Rush. That is because I do not have it. I was able to find a copy of the vinyl, but not with the casing. It was just like, hey, if you want it, the vinyl only, I don't have the case. And I was like, yes, I want this. So here's a random, Rush vinyl you can look at. Lots to say about this. It's the only record that does not feature Neil Peart. Instead, it features John Rutsey, who is the original drummer for the band, and it has a very non-Rush sound. Like, it sounds like Rush, but it doesn't sound like Rush. It's very much a 70s hard rock record, and a very good one at that. Obviously, Working Man is on here, which is the song, but Finding My Way is great. What You're Doing is also In the Mood. Like, there's a lot of good stuff on here. The problem is, for me, it's not really Rush. It's not the proto-Rush that I would come to know and love. I still like this record a lot. In some cases, I love it. Obviously, Working Man's an amazing song, but they just find their way... funny. They find their way better, especially on the next record, right? Once they get Neil in the picture and they do something like Fly By Night, like, forget about it. So much better. But the record has a lot of great moments. Like I said, I like it more than the stuff we've seen so far, but there's just so much better stuff that's about to come and be in the next video. So for now, I'll simply leave it at this record's good. It would be interesting to see what would have happened to Rush if John stayed in the band and Neil never joined the band. I'm sorry to say I'm not sure they would become the icons that they are known as now, but who knows? Hindsight is 2020. We know that Neil joining the band was an amazing choice, so who's to say if John staying in the band would have done something more. Okay, moving on to number 12 in this case. Going back to the synth era, I know I mentioned that there's two records that are really high. Hold Your Fire is kind of low, but not much higher than that is the other synth era record I want to talk about, which is Power Windows. An improvement and a better version of the synth era than, at least in my opinion, Hold Your Fire is. But there is some things holding this back. But there's some things that are really elevating this thing. One of them that is kind of in the middle of the road for me is The Big Money. I've never loved The Big Money. I think it's a good song. I think it's catchy and fun, but I don't think it's great. I think 3 songs on here just completely blow it out of the water. Those 3 being Manhattan Project. I really love Manhattan Project. I think it is such a cool song, going through the history of the atomic bomb creation and just making a song out of it and making it interesting. It's something only Rush could really do. Marathon is such a good song, and that chorus is so victorious and triumphant and amazing. But by far and away, my favorite song on this record has to be Mystic Rhythms, the closing track. I saw a video recently of a guy, ranking Rush discography or live albums or something, and he said that for him, Mystic Rhythms is a dud track. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Mystic Rhythms is easily the best song on this record, and honestly, one of my favorite Rush songs. Just forget the fact of synthwave. One of the best Rush songs, in my opinion, is Mystic Rhythms. Everything about it, just Neil's drum intro, the way the synths are working with the guitar work that Alex is doing, Geddy's vocal delivery on all of this, the chorus. Oh my God, the chorus. Every time it comes in, I feel myself elevating off the ground. It's so goddamn good. Yeah, I can't say enough about Mystic Rhythms. However, the rest of the songs on here, again, they're good. They're not amazing. They're not great. But the great moments are truly great. And that's why it does fall higher up on the lower half of the list. All right, down to the last 2 of this part of the sort of discussion, the list. And I had trouble with these 2. And that's largely because you'll see in telling you these 2, you'll start to realize records that I have not talked about that you would clearly go, no, there's no way these 2 records are lower than these other records that you haven't talked about. Again, this is just my opinion. This is just how I currently feel in the moment. A week from now, a month from now, I may feel differently. But at number 11 is the more obvious of the 2, which is Caress of Steel. I used to love this record. Love this record. Top upper half, I would have put it. But in revisiting everything and looking through everything, I think Caress of Steel's faults are kind of clear once you sort of listen it with an objective view. You only have, 5 songs on this thing, and 3 of them are just your basic Rush songs. The other 2 are more proggy epics, but you get Bastille Day as the opener, which is a great opener. Fantastic. Bastille Day, Very much a great Rush song, was in their live catalog for many years. But then you get I Think I'm Going Bald, and it's like the lyricism on this track is kind of hokey and stupid. There are moments though where the track really kicks ass. That like like if you know the song, you know that. But like that part of the song goes really hard. And then Lakeside Park, it's a nice little track, but it's not one of my favorites. So already with the first three songs, you're like, these are good songs collectively, but they're not like super mega hits for Rush. And you follow that up with two massive songs in The Necromancer and The Fountain of Lamneth. Now, The Necromancer is actually my favorite of the two if I had to pick one. I love the progression of The Necromancer. I love that like ethereal intro where it's just like smoky, hazy, walking through the misty forest to get to the Necromancer's lair. Then they get to the Necromancer's lair and you just get that sick ass guitar riff from Alex, that and just the way that Geddy, I'm not even gonna attempt Geddy Lee's vocals, but the high like prism in the tower like that. Oh man, it sucks me doing it. I wish I could just like mimic his voice perfectly, but like it's so good. And then they get to the boom 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 boom, like amazing. And then the ending, which of course is them winning, so to speak. It's like triumphant. It's beautiful. It's great. It's awesome. I love the Necromancer. The Fountain of Lamneth, however, I can see why this record didn't quite make the splash they wanted, and I think Fountain of Lamneth is part of the problem. It's not that Fountain of Lamneth is bad, but I think the Necromancer does what they were attempting to do so much better. I will say the Fountain of Lamneth has good moments, and in particular, I love the drum solo section that Neil does. I hate the vocal thing that happens, where honestly, after all these years of listening to it, I'm not even sure what is happening there. Geddy does like this screech at the end of it, but again, it's there is good stuff here. Yeah, I don't know, like it's a fine record, and at times it's an amazing record, but there's just not enough here to really like elevate it. And they would do the elevated work on top of the prog work so much better years down the line than Caress of Steel. So while it's a nice precursor to what they were going to do, I think they just kind of overdo themselves later, right? They just outdo themselves in many ways. And part of that is this next record, which I think this is really going to make people mad. The fact that I'm putting this as low as it is going to really offend people. But again, it's my opinion. And for this record, I think one half of it is absolutely some of Rush's best work. I think the other half of it is some of the most boring, not great work that Rush ever did. And that is, hold on to your seats, the last record I'm going to talk about in this list, number 10 on my Rush list. Not even in the single digits, number 10 on the best Rush albums. It's 2112. I know. You're screaming. You're going, what the fuck? You're running into things. You're crash. I know. I do, right? I'm a big Rush fan, believe me. In spite of the fact that I put 2112 this low, I'm a massive Rush fan. But can we talk about this record for a second? Because I think this is the most overrated Rush record, if we're being honest. And in many ways, I think people overrate it for what it did. Now, what I do love about this record is the story behind it. How, if you know your Rush history, you know Caress of Steel doesn't sell well. The studio is basically like, look, you have to give us something. You have to give us a hit or we're, cutting you off. So you better deliver and make radio singles and make catchy tunes. And instead of contemplating, Rush just goes, you know what? Fuck you. We're going to do what we want. And if it is the last record we do, then so be it. Right? We're going to go out on our own terms. And so they make 2112. And 2112 really captivates. It speaks to people. It becomes this massive hit. And suddenly Rush is like a household name. Excuse me. As I said earlier, there's half of this record that is absolutely some of the best Rush material, and of course that is the first half. The 2112 suite is amazing. Everything about it is perfect. The story it's telling, the performances, the progression of the story, just everything about it. And I can't listen to 2112 without getting chills every single time in two places. The first is the Discovery suite, the part where he finds the guitar and starts tuning it and then starts like, oh man, such a good, like, I don't know whose decision that was. such a beautiful thing to have him tuning the guitar and not jumping straight to just like him playing it. But without fail, every single time when they get to the finale and the thing comes on that says "Attention, all planets of the Solar Federation, we have assumed control." Like, oh, and they're just like doing that big band ending, and they hit there and they fade out, and it says, "We have assumed control. We have assumed like I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. Like, oh man, the 2112 side of this record is just like perfect. Nothing wrong with it. I have no qualms. It's the second side of this record that I think people just kind of overlook and don't talk about. I'm sorry. The second half of this record is like, again, there's not a bad Rush record. This is not a bad record by any means. But it's the same thing as like the White Album or The Wall, which I've talked about before, which is in the case of both The Wall and the White Album, half of the material on those albums are the band's best material. In the case of Pink Floyd, some of their best songs. In the case of the Beatles, some of their best songs. The problem with those records and the problem with 2112 is that the other half of the record, in my opinion at least, is just kind of some of their like weakest material. It's their most forgettable, most boring, most dry, whatever. Like, come on. Passage to Bangkok is not an amazing song. It just isn't. It's kind of hokey. It's kind of dumb. It just doesn't really do like it's got a catchy chorus, sure. And the like that's fun like the first two times you hear it. And then it's kind of like, okay, this is I don't know what I'm supposed to get from this. The Twilight Zone, again, it's an okay song. I really like the chorus of the Twilight Zone, but the verse sections, it's just kind of like, this is whatever. It's just kind of boring. Lessons, whatever. Tears, probably my favorite song on side 2 if I had to pick one. And then Something for Nothing, it's fine, but like, come on, guys. Like, you can't discount, or rather, you can't like ignore the second half of this album. This is a singular album. As much as I wish the 2112 side was the only part of this album, it does have a second half. And that second half is not anywhere near what that first half is. That first half is literal 10 out of 10. The second half is like 6 out of 10 at most, honestly. There's so many better halves. Like, honestly, I think the first half of Caress of Steel is better than the second half of 2112. I'm just being honest. I think those 3 songs collectively are better than the 5 songs on 2112, or at least the second half. So yeah, I do love their outfits though. Who doesn't? But as far as 2112 is concerned, yeah, it falls low for a lot of like this. For a lot of people, this is like their number 1, their number 2, their number 3, top 5 easy. Not for me. I just think there's so much better material in their catalog. They do so many better things. I appreciate what 2112 did for the band. I greatly value that. But as far as like being their landmark record and like one of the best in their whole career, they kind of outdo themselves so many times over in so many of the albums we haven't talked about. So yeah, as far as the bottom half of the list is concerned, 2112 is the top of the bottom half. And so that leaves 9 more records we have not talked about. But rather than talking about all 9 of them now, I'm going to save it for a part 2. So I'm going to conclude here. I will point out, if you're a Rush fan, you're thinking of records that have not been talked about, and you can't possibly imagine them being higher in the list than 2112, but they are. Sorry, that's how I feel. So I'm sure I lost all the legitimate Rush fans. They're not going to listen to the rest of this because I said that 2112 is only 10th on the list of 19 albums, but if you so wish, there will be a part 2 coming eventually. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being you. And thank you for disagreeing with my placement of 2112, I am sure. Until next time, do take care.